Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. I do hope you're having a good day. This is episode 38 of the Day In, Day Out podcast, where I had the immense pleasure and honor to have Lillian Ogbogoh on the podcast. She is a corporate trainer, international speaker, coach for podcasts, and a podcast host. We talked about many a thing on this episode. From starting podcasts, how to sort of source people for podcasts. Also, we found out she is, how can I say, quite a fan of the anime. Anyway, I'll say sit back, enjoy the show, and yes, any feedback you can give me about the podcast, please send a message, get a message out to me, leave a comment, and I'll be happy to help. Anyway, have a great day, my friends, my life warriors, and yes, I'll speak to you soon. Peace. Haha. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. I do hope you're having a good day. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. This is episode 38. I have the pleasure today to have Lillian Ogbogoh on the podcast. Yep, on the podcast today. Yes, she is a corporate trainer, international speaker, coach, and podcast host. And she is a coach for podcasts as well. And how are you today, my lady?
I am good, Muiwa. Thank you for inviting me. So yes, and thank you for that intro.
No problem at all. I have to say, I was basically hunting around looking for people to get on the show, and I came across your profile.
Right.
It's very interesting to see where you sort of come from all the way back working in the NSL service group as a project leader to now a podcaster.
As a trainer.
As a trainer.
And actually, while I was working for NSL, I was already a podcaster. So I started podcasting, and I say this way before every man, dog, and cat had a podcast. And I never intended to have a podcast. It was accidental.
Oh, and accidental. How did you stumble into this?
Okay, so way back in the day, I was going through a lot of stuff. And one of the things that was my greatest challenge was I was afraid of speaking in public. I used to say I was so afraid of speaking in public that I would rather eat broken glass layered with murabutu ants. You know, the ants that can eat flesh off bodies? I would rather eat them covered in broken glass, covered with acid, and covered with poison rather than speak in public.
I'm picking up on a slight thing. You didn't like speaking in public.
Yeah, it was just a slight thing.
Just a smidge. Just a small smidge.
I mean, I will be the one that will go to an event and it's like a public speaking event or it's some kind of personal development event. I will sit at the back, the seat closest to the door, just in case the foolish person at the front of the room decides to make eye contact with me and says, let's have a conversation. I want to ask you a question. I had enough time to be gone. Like, all you see is my shape of desk. Like, Lillian has left the building. And I realized that this was a great challenge because on the flip side of that, I will sit in those rooms and there was a part of me that was yearning to say, I have a message. I can share this. I know some of this. I know some of this. And oh, you know what? This actually makes sense. But also, if you add this piece of conversation, this makes sense. And all the while, I've been doing other things and creating events for women to be on stages and talking, getting other people to be in front of the room when I would rather be outside of the room, down the street, around the corner, than in front of the room. And so I started NLP, discovered NLP, started working through NLP. And one of the things was when you meet that thing that is in your way, you have to make a conscious decision. So one of the conscious decisions I made was I joined Toastmasters. And anybody who doesn't know what Toastmasters is think of it as a woman-friendly place where you get to practice your ability to speak in front of other people. And they're there to provide you with feedback, with validation, and they will tell you and give you points on where you are, where you can improve. And so I was like, okay, this is a good place. And I started Toastmasters, and I still was struggling with the sound of my voice, because I don't know if you ever experienced that, where you go, you listen back to the sound of your voice and you're like,
yeah, you know what? Like, I think it's one of those things. I don't know about you, but for me, if I listen to my voice back again, it always sounds strange to me. I think it's one of those things where you got to work to get over that.
yes, you said it sounds strange. I decided my voice sounded like a chipmunk on crack. Now, I don't know any chipmunks personally to know whether they are on crack or not, so this is not besmirching chipmunks, but this is what I thought my voice sounded like. And so I said, okay, I had some really good friends who were speakers and coaches and trainers, and they're right. And I go, can I get to ask you guys questions and interview you? And I said, what I'll do is let's do it online. And so nobody sees us and nobody can throw tomatoes. This was my view. And so I started this thing called, way back in the day, I started on a platform called Blog Talk. And this is when Blog Talk used to be free. People don't remember Blog Talk used to be free. That's how way back we go. And so I started on Blog Talk, and I interviewed two friends. And one of the things was, when you don't know what you don't know, I didn't know how to make it private. And somebody reached out to me and go, hi, we listened to the interviews that you've just done. We represent an author who's just produced this book, and he would love for you to interview him. And I was like,
That's like, what? Who?
I was like, okay, see, I was like, if they don't know that I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I'm not going to tell them that I don't know what I don't know. So I was like, yeah, sure. Of course, I would love to interview your client. What's the book? Can you guys send me the book so I can have a glance through it? Thinking that will be their deal breaker, and they'll say, go away, leave us alone. That was my mindset, that if they say go away, I won't chase them. I was like, stop it. So they're like, oh, sure. What's your address so we can send it? I was like, oh, screw.
You thought you were raising the stakes, but they just matched you.
They were like, and we call. I was like, okay, now I either gotta play or fold. So I just decided to play, and I interviewed my first official guest on my show called Waking Passions was Clint Pierman. And he wrote an incredible book called The 12 Gifts, and it was really started out as a love letter to his daughter, giving her the messages of what he wanted for her. And it was really pouring life into his daughter. And when I interviewed him, he told me how he became an accidental Marine for 25 years. I'm like, well, if you're an accidental Marine, I'm an accidental podcast host, and that's how it all started. So he was my first guest, and by the time I finished in that particular show, I had interviewed one person from almost every inhabited continent of the world.
Wow. It's quite surprising how these things can start, but like just from like interviewing two friends where you just forgot to put it on private, to like going, hey, we have a client who's an author and they would like to speak to you. You know, like, I was like, what?
Because I thought I was being slick. I was like, you know what? I got y'all. I will ask for the book. You'll say no. And I really justified and go, see, it wasn't meant to be. And they're like, here's the book.
Perfect. So after interviewing, getting into the interview game with your first author, was it a case of you were like, okay, I'm off to the races, or did you pause for a while?
Well, it's just kind of snowballed from there, because after that first particular interview, and just because I thought my life wasn't challenging enough, I used to do it live. So it was live. I thought, you know what, let's do this live. It's a show. Come on now, this is Oprah work. Let's do this. And then somebody else reached out to me, and I'm like, what is it that you do? They're like, I'm a coach. So this formed the basis of this particular show, and you can tell by the name. I called it Waking Passions for a reason, was because I was interviewing people who were using their passions and purpose to wake the world and change the world. And so by the time I finished, there were people that will come up to me and go, oh, I've heard your show. This person said I should listen, and I would like to be on it. And I'm like, okay, so what do you do? And they're like, oh, yes. So what I do is I heal the world one orgasm at a time. And I'm like, are you waiting for a shock reaction here?
It's like, okay, we can talk about this.
I was like, okay. I'm like, let's see. I got dates. What dates would you like? So,
It's like, I can just imagine that's like, afternoons, would that be better for you? Seems you might be busy in the morning or in the evening.
well, just to make it easy for me, because I started interviewing people globally. I made it easy. I said 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. For 3 years, at that point when I was doing the show, I think I went out once on a Wednesday, and I remember making it back in a cab and trying to dial into my show at the same time and begging this cab driver, if you get a ticket, I will pay any fines. Just drive.
Like 8 p.m. on a Wednesday for 3 years.
Yes.
Were you basically, were you using a particular platform, or were you just doing something yourself?
So I was using Blog Talk, like I mentioned, and this was way back. And so using Blog Talk, but the reason why I chose 8 p.m. was simple, because 8 p.m. was in between time zones. So I could get people who were 3 p.m. who could kind of sneak off to listen at work in the New York area, and then the California area were awake, and it was 8 p.m. People have fed their children to bed, and they were like centered, and they were like, okay, I can listen, I can hear this. Oh, we can listen about orgasms feeding the world. And like, people were like, Lillian, you are a strange duck. I'm like, well, I didn't do it. These people are doing it and they're sharing it. I just let you know. How is this my fault?
Yeah, but like, this is the thing. I would say one of the hardest things to do is a live. I've seen it on, like, when it comes to TV, radio, like, and when basically when they open up live platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and everything like this, I've seen so many people just like, they try it, and like they've tried and tried and tried, but it's a very difficult thing to sort of get that all to gel. Like, that is one hell of a challenge to take up.
The good thing was I wasn't doing it to video.
Okay.
And sometimes I try to video, and my face doesn't have an inside voice, so I make faces, and so
there was this one time, there's a no.
Pretty much. So I have to say I cheat because it's audio, so it's a podcast, so it's strictly audio. And the good thing is I'm able to sit and have this live conversation that goes out, and I forget it's live, because for me it's me and you talking, the rest of the world's kind of eavesdropping, it doesn't matter. And then I had people who will listen in, and the platforms I've been so fortunate, the platforms I've used allow for interaction. Even Blog Talk way back then allowed for interaction, so people can interact and listen in and comment. And so in that time I taught myself about audio, and I taught myself about equipment, and taught myself about stuff. I've learned to use, now I haven't learned to use every button on my sound mixer board, but I can use a sound mixer board. Okay. Now I'm not about to become a DJ Nice, but I can use a sound mixer board and not break it.
I hear you. That's most probably going to be something in my future, but not right now. But yeah.
Listen, I can show you. I can show you the setup, how to do a mix. The only thing I struggle with is when I do my mix minus, because you have to do it when you want to do a mix minus to bring in sound from like your phone into your mixer board, so it then comes out so people can call in. That becomes slightly bit of a challenge. But everything else, where I can get my guests to come in, their sound to come in first, to go back into my audio, especially because I'm using a connector that helps the sound go from the mixer. You need something, unless you're using, I'm fortunate to have a mixer that has a USB attached to it. Most don't, and so you need a connector and be able to do all the wires. And when I do it, it's not pretty. I used to be in a situation where when I'm doing, and I used to actually go to places and do a physical live interview, and I would have my guests there, and there are wires everywhere, and I'm like, you just kind of sit over there, I'll take care of everything.
Just like this is only going to be a 15-minute interview. Did you see what it took me to set up? I've been here for half an hour. You're not going to get away from 15 minutes. No.
Oh, no, 15 minutes left. No. We want the full hour.
Yeah.
Full hour. So I'm like, listen, you're here, I'm here, let's make this work. So well, with Waking Passions, that was just solely distance. And then I stopped Waking Passions, took a long break, and a conversation led to something else. So having dinner out with friends, and we were talking, and we're like, the side, that side that precedes a conversation that starts like this.
Yeah.
I am tired of the mainstream media.
Yeah.
You know that side.
Well,
You
look,
know that side that follows that.
Yes. Look, I think everyone in the UK has had that sigh since the start of Brexit. And now, basically, right now, it's like COVID is taking over the mantle, and we'll be back.
But you see, that's every Briton, from Brexit to COVID.
Yeah.
People of color, we've had that sigh since God knows when. We've been sighing generationally. And so that sigh came up, and it was, okay, I'm tired of mainstream media showcasing us. If we're in a series or a show, we are the loud ones. We are, the ones who are working in shops. We are this, we are that. Oh, Black women in commercials, you never see like a Black couple where the Black woman is actually happy with her Black partner or something. You're like, and so we're like, oh, the mainstream media should, the mainstream media must. And we were sat around and we were just talking. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, the mainstream media doesn't have to do anything. I go, we have this. This is the equivalent of mainstream media right now. Because the way we can disseminate information, the way we can actually use information, we can create and control our own narrative. And that started a thing up in my mind, because at that point, when that conversation was happening, I was almost 3 years removed from running Waking Passions. And I said, I don't need the mainstream media to see what I want to see or to hear what I want to hear. What I'm going to do is create a platform that showcases and shines the light on people from my community and the other BME communities who are doing incredible things in this country and further afield. And that was my intention. So when I started with, I wanted it to be co-hosted live with a co-host and have guests. And we did started that way. I had the incredible Take Kofi as my co-host for the first season. And we used to actually film this live. And I used to tell people that I have a studio in a box. And I literally am walking down London Bridge with a studio in a little suitcase. It's the equivalent of a little studio, because I had headphones, I had mics, I had mixer boards, I have everything in a little suitcase walking down. People are like, where are you going at 6, 7 o'clock? Because the show again was at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And did that first season, and we decided to part company. And I decided, well, let's keep this going, because one, it was something that I was really enjoying doing. We went back to doing it remotely. I still do some here and there where I actually go to people to actually record at where they're at. My podcast for me is it's an exercise in love. It's an exercise, and I say it's an exercise in love because I get to have the distinct pleasure, and I get laughed at because I'm always going, oh my God, you should listen. Today's episode, I have this amazing, wonderful, fantastic. I am edifying these people because it is for me the greatest honor that I get to interview people who are doing some fantastic work and we don't know about them in this country. And then also because of the work that the interviews I've done, I had the distinct pleasure of interviewing one of my all-time girl heroes in terms of music industry with the song that rocked the 90s in such a hard way. If I say to you, I'm not your superhero, what would you say to me?
Oh.
Don't make me sing now, please. Don't make me sing. The world is not ready for this.
No, I'm gonna have to make you sing. I'm gonna have to make you sing. Yeah.
I'm not your superwoman. I'm not the kind of girl that you can let down and think everything's okay. Oh boy, I'm only human.
Oh
I
God.
had the pleasure of interviewing Karen White.
Okay. Wow. Yes. Like, like, you know what I mean? I'm liking it. Look, put it this way: you got good vocal parts there, girl. You got good vocal parts. Like, yeah. So with like, I get the whole like the whole side. Like, I'm so fed up with the media this. I'm so fed up with the media that. But why did you like? Why did you stop? Why did you take that break?
Well, I took the break at the time. I've been running Wake and Passion for 3 years. Well, 3.5 years. And the time that I stopped, I realized every day, 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, people will say, well, it's just a podcast, so you're not really doing that much. And I'm like, no, because you got to set it up. You gotta reach out to the people. You gotta line it up. And to me, the equivalent, I've been in some podcasts where people go, send me some questions you would like me to ask. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what now? All right. So I equate it to, I invite you for dinner to my house in New I say, yeah, come over for dinner. So when you get here, I'm like, so you're here, do you want to cook?
Yeah. No, I think the problem with some people who like go and start up a podcast, I don't think like the whole the whole aspect of having a conversation, it's a skill. You
It
think
is.
you think you talk on a day-to-day basis and you're like,
It's a
oh yeah,
skill.
yeah.
It's a skill because one, for me, before anybody comes on my podcast, I have to make sure I send them out a series of stuff. So I ask, first of all, I ask for your bio. So I get a sense of who you are in terms of your identity that you craft on paper. I ask for images. I ask for your high res. And I go, if I don't get them, you won't be on the show because I can't be scrambling for stuff. I need to know that this is something that you are ready to do. And if I can get people like Clint Pierman, Karen White, and Anaja Allen Gums to do that, I can get anybody to do it. And so I would get their info so that I can have that. But also, your bio is a snapshot of you in time. And so what I then do is I go out the same way that a journalist will go out, and I look for things about you. And I've had guests on my show when I ask them something, they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. How did you find? I go, yeah, it's out there. So I will go and investigate. I will actually go and listen to other interviews that you've been on. I will go and read the blogs you've been a part of. And then what I then do is I then craft questions. So I have a series of questions. Now I tell my guests, I don't send you the questions because one, if you see some, depending on the guest and how fangirl I go in, sometimes I have questions between 30 and 40 questions, and that can scare people. Or people think, oh, I need to remember and memorize everything and respond in a certain way. My questions are also guidelines, are just guidelines because I want to know this, I want to know this, I want to know that. And then I make space for a conversation to happen when I get to ask questions, and you will say something that will then strike us up down another road. And that's why the show is an hour, because I give you room to talk and share your story. And I did that in Waking Passions, but I also do it in Shine Out Loud show. And after a while, if you're doing something consistently on your own, and I had a friend supporting me, you kind of get tired. And I don't believe in the trope that, strong Black woman be strong all the time. I'm like, no, I'm tired, folks. This girl is tired and she's going to go on board and do something else and find something else. And I took time away and I did other things and I refreshed myself. And by the time I came back, I've just done Shine Out Loud. We've gone to 3 years. We haven't restarted this year with everything going on. I just decided I needed a moment because even with COVID and everything, it's unsettling. And I wanted to go, where do I want the stories to add? So we're going to be starting up again. But for me, sometimes I take the time out because as a podcaster, I don't know if you ever experience this where it feels like you are pouring an excessive amount of yourself into the podcast?
Like there's been a couple of times. I think it comes down to sometimes the people you might be talking to, where you've got to like basically, if it's not free, like if you can't get that conversation struck up and free flowing, you have to dig deep and like push yourself out there a little bit more.
It's some of that, yes, but it's also because for me, it's the whole work of finding the guests, nurturing the relationships before, because especially when you're using social media to find people, you don't just go to somebody, click their button, their thing, subscribe once, and go, hey, I want you on my show. You got to build up that relationship, so it takes time. To nurture that relationship.
Yeah, no, this is the thing with, I think that's one of the things you don't actually pick. Like if someone goes, oh yeah, I'm doing a podcast, I've got an interview here, you go, okay, right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll listen to the show. But yeah, the background work, the sort of like the under, how can I put it? The iceberg, the whole
what you don't see.
Down, you don't see that. And with regards to sourcing people, like taking that time out, like making sure they're the right fit for the show, and basically for like vice versa, it does take time, and it can be fatiguing if you're not ready for it. I think
it can be. But also because the podcast is not the only thing I do. I have a day job, I have other things, I have a life. And so for me, there are times when I will take a break in between seasons and go, I'm gonna give myself a moment, and then come back and go, yay, let's do this again. Let's make this happen. But it works for me because, like I said, it's also my energy management. I recognize the signs of myself when I'm like, because like you said, when you're having a conversation, you have to carry that conversation. And sometimes there are people who are great doing their Facebook lives, they're great in their work that they're doing, but once you put them on the spot to have a conversation, and they know in the back of their head, they go, this conversation is live, they're like,
yeah.
And so you got to help them, and you got to nurture them. You got to, okay. And so in an article I read about you, you said that this, and this, and this was one of the bases and the reasons why you started your company. What led to that happen? And then they jump in, and so you help drive that home, and you help move the conversation along, because that's your job. Your job is to move that conversation. It's a hold space for that person, and so that when they're sharing their story, they get to a place where they're liberated and free to shine and do it successfully on the show and talk about themselves in a way that they don't feel like, oh, I'm bragging, or I'm not. Or, I'm like, you're here to shine. Just let's do this.
Yeah. No, like this, like, yeah. One of the things, I've listened to a few podcasts where it just sounds like the person who's hosting it is they're just reading off the questions, just one after the other. It's like, it's like any sort of variation away from that question. It's like, no, we gotta go back here.
I try not to make it sound like the Spanish Inquisition. I'm not trying to catch anybody out, I swear. I make room for us to go, oh God, do we ever go off piece? I've had some shows where somebody will say something, and then all of a sudden we're like, questions go here, we go there.
Yeah. I can imagine. So with regards to like all the people you've interviewed over the time, like from music legends that you really admire to like people you like truly respect, what has been one of the more interesting sort of podcast interviews you can remember?
So let's see. When I did Waking Passions, one of the person I interviewed, and I mentioned his name. His name is Onaje Allen Guns. Now, not a lot of people will know him, but what struck me was this man had been making music first and foremost before I was alive, and he'd been making kind of music that I listened to as a baby at home, and he was responsible for that happening. So, do you remember do you remember an artist called Phyllis Harman, who did Betcha by Golly Wow?
I'm going to have to say
Motown, very old. It was actually originally done by the Stylistics.
Right.
But Onaje Allen Guns helped to do the composition for Betcha by Golly Wall that was done by Phyllis Harmon, and it was Betcha by Golly Wall.
Okay.
You're my superstar. Something to those lines. And when he told me his journey, I was just in awe of the man. The man started creating music at the age of 3. And and you listen to his journey and listen to the people that he had worked with and he had impacted, and you're like, Jesus. And then I remember having musically, I interviewed the lead from CNC Music Factory.
Oh God, nice.
You know who CNC Music Factory? Everybody dance now.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yes. I can remember, like, yeah, annoying my mother with that a lot. There's her look at her. It's like, I brought you into this world so you could do this. Fine. Fine.
So I interviewed them. Now, as much as that's been fun, I'll tell you the shows that I remember are. So I interviewed Dr. Nikki Folayan, and she's based in the UK.
Mm.
Because of her, she is an engineer. Because of her, when we drive through places like the Blackwell Tunnel right now, we can be on our phones because she designed the parts of the equipment, the equipment that allows us to do this.
Mm.
She did. I was like, not worthy. I'm like, I interviewed her, and then I interviewed. Oh, now you're casting my brain. Medina King. She is the first and only in this country as of 2018. When I interviewed her, she was the first and only child interior designer in the UK.
You know what? Like, how old was this child at the time?
No. She's not a child. She creates interior design for children's spaces.
Okay.
And she's the only Black woman in that space in London as of 2018. She had the illustrious title of being a first and only. And you know what? We don't want anybody being a first and only from our community in anything anymore.
No, like basically it should be a case of it should be legion rather than basically individual. Because like with regards to, how can I say it? With regard to most of the sort of modern media platforms, everything like this, podcasting, YouTube, like Twitch or everything like this, you hear about a scattering, but you don't hear about the greater number. And with regards to the sort of, there used to be a gateway to entry for a lot, but as you showed earlier, your phone, that should help free up a number of people who can take part. But I think it's a case of, it might be a confidence thing, or it might not be a case of knowing the true opportunities which lie within this new media landscape. I don't know what you think, but yes.
Well, because she was in interior design, the gatekeepers are a lot different. And in terms of that space where you have to show up and present yourself. And we know when you think of interior designs, most people think Llewellyn Bowen, whatever his name is. They think,
yes,
you know,
like a man with big hair and fancy scarves.
Yes, and you know, flowing locks. And so you think about that, and so and for her to be in that space where she was not only doing interior design, but she entered a niche market where she was creating design spaces for children in home, in their parents will commission these spaces, and this was a well-being thing where she was helping create spaces that enhance the children's well-being. And it was so niche and so specific, and I'm like, girl, how, why? And I was just touched by the work and what drives that work. The other couple, I remember I interviewed a couple of couples, and this was the Onis, and they opened up a restaurant in Halsden, and they created nouveau cuisine Nigerian food.
Ooh.
And they were doing things with plantain and um,
Jollof rice.
the jollof rice was there, but then they were also doing things with waffles and things like that, and suya, and combining suya and waffles, and you're like, suya waffles in the same place. Do they coexist? Okay, discover. But the fact that she went from home cook, self-taught cook. They opened up a supper club, and then from a supper club create this restaurant out of this. And this was a passion or purpose to reimagine our Nigerian food, to actually serve it up and bring it in to make it more accessible, but also for us to actually know that we can still eat Nigerian food, and for it to be as pretty and as presentable, and can be high cuisine and be appreciated. So it's not something that you just go, it's just that. It became a love work for them.
How did you discover like these people? Because like it's one of those things, you go, social media and everything like that is out there, but discovering a lady who does like interior design for like children, discovering a nouveau riche Nigerian food, like how on earth did you manage to get in connection with these people?
Okay, so here's the thing, and here's a tip for any would-be podcaster that wants to do interview-based podcasts. Become friends with people in PR.
It's like, it's like that's like the way you went. Here's a tip for you. It's like, here's a tip. Listen to me. Wait for it. Become friends with people in PR. And you just drop the mic and walk away. It's like, boom.
Because my show would not be the show that it is without the different women who own PR companies, and for them to send me their guests and their clients and say, would you like to interview this client? I have this client that does X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, please, can I interview them? Please.
maybe a little bit more cool and reflect. Yeah. No.
You're
like,
please, can I interview your clients?
Okay, come on.
So,
leave.
So I'm quite fortunate. I'm connected to Ronka Lawal of Ariaso PR, and oh my God, she's gonna kill me. Pink PR, Pink Hippo PR, and that's Korean Hippolyte. And if I've mispronounced the business name, please don't come for me. I'm sorry. We'll blame it on COVID. And I'm also connected. I met Deborah Johnson, who does PR for a lady that creates products called Big Hair for for black hair. So I have been fortunate that I have these sources to tap into and go, hi, and some of them will reach out to me, and some will say, okay, this is a list of clients. Who do you need? And so now that I'm going to go and restart the show, I'm going to start going back to them saying the show starts and we're going to make changes. I'm going to not do live for this new season. And this is who I like to interview. This is who I like to interview. Is it possible that I can interview them and make that happen? So without the connection, so as much as I do my social media, let's call it what it is, stalking. Because you go out there, you're like, oh God, that person's doing something amazing. Let me follow them and ask them questions, and you build the relationship. It's you're following with an intent. I think that's what stalking is. Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
That's what stalking is. It's like, just like the quick sort of justification you made in your head there. I was like, okay.
But without these women who do the work they do, and as women of color in their own right, and as women of color in their industry, supporting other people of color by giving them the platforms to actually showcase their work better and help them with their content, help them with their marketing, and really push them out there. I wouldn't know them. And so I am indebted to these individuals because they've made my show what it is. And I've had other people who connected me with the music stars in the States and other things. So without those people, my show wouldn't have been what it's been.
Like, and with when you start up the new season, is it going to be? I'm sure the emphasis is going to be on the quality of the guests, but is it going to be more so on getting that platform out to as many people as possible, more so now, or is it just what do you think your attack's going to be?
So my attack is, and actually I don't think it's an attack, it's more my intention. So what we're going to do is this new season is going to be focused on themes. So we're going to be looking at themes around people who've built resilience into their business, or who are forced into a place of resilience and start a business. Looking at people women who are using their power and leadership to change the world. So it's the themes about it. As far as the reach of my show, I think my show is very accessible. We are on almost every platform known to mankind, and I'm sure you can listen to it via NASA if you really want it, because we are on Spreaker.com. We have our own website. We are on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Deezer, iHeart, TuneIn, Amazon, Alexa. I've made it easy for people to access. You can listen to it on the Spreaker.com app on your phone. You can listen to it on the go. Because of the way it is, the audio, I put it up on YouTube as well. You can listen to it with a static image on YouTube. So I've made it easy. So pretty much the way I've done it is, listen, however you want to listen to it, there's an option for you. I'm not really fussy. You must listen to it via iTunes. I'm not fussy. I'm just happy that you're listening.
I hear that. No, I hear that as a newbie to the game. Yeah, that anyone who's willing to listen, anyone who's here to listen, I welcome them with open arms and a smile on my face. So with that, I mean, wow, the wealth of knowledge you have doing podcasts and everything like this, it's phenomenal. How did you get into basically speaking, motivational speaking? How did that happen?
So I told you the journey from the public speaking and everything, and also holding events and that I created for women, and being part of events like You're a Beautiful Woman, which was an event to celebrate women of color in the UK. We ran that for 5 years as a group of women of us. How did I start speaking? Well, doing the Toastmasters, developing my skills, and one of my things that I've always been extremely passionate about is about women stepping into their own power. And it's not just about empowerment, it's about women owning the core of themselves and showing up into the world and actually using that for something and saying, this is me, I'm present, see me, hear me, I will not be ignored. I will command my presence. I will command what I should be paid. I will command the right jobs for me. I will command the right relationship, because I am coming from a whole and healthy place. And so started along the lines of doing things around the empowerment, self-confidence, talking about how we carry ourselves, but also looking at the things that robs us of our power, because it's so easy for us to be sidelined. And then because one of my other areas of interest has always been, even from childhood, is mythology. And then from learning about mythology, I learned about Jungian psychology. And when Jungian psychology came into my world, mythology made sense. I was like, oh, archetypes. I was like, let's talk about this and talk about how we show up and why in the boardroom you need this level of energy, or in your relationship you need this energy, and understanding the difference between if you're in warrior mode when you should be in lover mode, where it allows for more open communication and you're softer and or do you need to be in your let me nurture you mode because I'm in my mother mode? And being in your mother mode doesn't mean you have to be a mom. It could be I can be in my mother mode and nurture a business from a seed to a mighty empire. And so this is how I kind of started and I found myself in some stages, and I found myself in places like the Cayman Islands. I found myself in Curacao. And it's funny when I speak to the ladies from Curacao, they're like, yeah, we remember you. And you told us we all wear red underwear because of you. I'm like, oh.
What? What? Okay, no, wait, what? It's okay. Hey. What? Okay. Please.
Should I continue?
Do tell.
Okay. So when I talked about, because this particular event we were at, it was about leadership and finding the sensual leadership within us and that quality of it. And I remember one of the things when I used to talk about this was, we need sometimes routines and things to kind of prepare us for certain things, to make us feel confident and bold. I go, look, Batman has his utility belt. In that utility belt, he'll pull out a grappling hook, he'll pull out a little nunchucks, throwing stars. The only thing he doesn't have in that utility belt is a kitchen sink. And I'm sure if he found a way to get the kitchen sink in there, it will be in the utility belt. Superman has his cape. Flying off, and it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's a guy about to get choked by the cape. But it's, Superman has his cape. And wearing his underwear on the outside.
Yeah. And if you watch The Incredibles, no
exactly.
capes.
No capes, darling. No capes.
No capes.
No capes, darling. No capes. But then I said, what is it that makes me feel powerful and comfortable and amazing and bold when I'm going into situations that will stretch me? And I remember when in my day job in project management, sometimes I'm having to present to the C-suite or having to give to people that I'm like, and I know those days, instead of me feeling afraid, I'm like, okay, I can't wear a cape, can't wear my underwear on the outside, and I can't wear a utility belt. What do I do? So for me was I have a thing about my underwear. And so I would make sure that when I have those interviews or I have to do those particular things, I used to wear a red set of underwear. And that was my equivalent of being dressed up to go. I'm like, put on whatever my day clothes were. I'm like, come at me, bro. I'm ready. And so
you might not have had the superhero costume on, but you had the superhero underwear.
And so this was my thing, and I spoke to them about this, and and I remember standing in the middle of this room and talking and saying and holding up the red bra and go, I wear this to interviews, and they're like, and so this was 5 years ago. So I still speak to some of the women from Curacao. They're like, yeah, that pretty much they go, yeah, she told us to wear red underwear. We are wearing now red underwear.
Why are you wearing red underwear? She told us to. And I feel powerful. Oh, that's great.
As much as it's funny to kind of hear, it's not so much about the red underwear. It's actually the action of saying, I am putting something on that makes me feel powerful. I am actually feeling powerful in myself by taking a certain action and doing that. Now in NLP, that's called anchoring.
Yeah.
And so I teach anchoring without having to make it sound weird and scared and scary with NLP, because I'm an NLP practitioner. And so what I've done is to these women, I've anchored in the fact that when you take the action of wearing this particular underwear, you feel powerful. So I anchor and lock that in them. And so when they go into those places, they're like,
No, don't. I get it. I totally get it. I understand. Look, it's like when you put on either a suit or a smart shirt at time, that's or like, all right, look at yourself, be playing that track of music, which, you know what I mean, get you a little bit hyped up, ready to go for either a Saturday night out or a Friday. And yeah, or you're about to hit an interview. I get it. I understand.
Exactly. Barney Simpson says you got to suit up. We suit up with our red underwear.
Oh, you went to how I Met Your Mother. Suit up. Okay, I'm liking it. I'm getting more of an idea of your mindset. The Incredibles, How I Met Your Mother. Okay, yeah. No, there's a lot of fun in that. I can see it. Yeah. Like, speaking of TV shows, I don't know if you've seen a Netflix show called She's All That.
I watched the original movie.
Like, it was like, this was like a documentary, like going across like a number of different ladies who like of who are starting up businesses, everything like this.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one. No, there's She's All That. There's a movie She's All That. And then it's She's Gotta Have It and She's All That. Yes. So
Yeah.
sorry. No, I haven't had the pleasure of watching that yet. I'm too busy watching Japanese anime.
For shame. For shame. I'll get to you. I'll get back to you on that in a sec. But for shame. No, but
don't judge me. Don't judge me.
No, I don't judge you. I don't judge you. Like, it's a very interesting documentary about how that many ladies of color who are starting up their own businesses and like going into different enterprises are doing it. I found it very interesting, but it was one of those things, because they must have covered about 8 to 10 ladies in the space of an hour and a half. It just was like, I felt like they could have done it on more of a series based, where it be like one lady each week over a 6 period. So you didn't really get sort of in depth enough. And I can't remember this one lady. She was like an engineer, like she was a communications engineer.
Wow.
She was part of the Obamas. She was like an advisor to the Obamas, I think. And like, she was there for about 5 minutes, and then she was gone. It was like,
that's a shame, because you would want to get into them and really find out their story. I think that probably is a missed opportunity, or maybe they may change it going forward, but that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
You want to spend time with these women and find out their story.
Because this is the thing. I don't know if you've seen the Kevin Hart's documentary when he on Netflix, because when it was a 6-part like series, each an hour, and it gives you some real insight to what he's doing, to sort of like what he's doing on his day-to-day, what he's doing on trying to build a legacy, what he's doing to educate like people in the Black community, what he's trying to do going forward, and like, how he had to deal with certain bits of like adversarial like situations. And it does give much more of a rich in-depth, and you're like, okay, 6 parts, that's great. But I think there needs to be definitely more of a clearer roadmap for people laid out there who might want to do it but can't actually see the way to do it at this present time.
I definitely agree with you, Maria. There needs to be more of a roadmap, and I think also in that roadmap there needs to be some truth telling, because people go, oh yeah, start a business, it'll be easy, you know. Like, what they don't tell you is that you're up to sometimes 4 o'clock. It can be stressful. If you're, the fact of the matter is, you don't know what you don't know till you start a business. And this is why they have that thing about what you didn't learn at Harvard is you don't know what you don't know till you start. And this is why you gotta hit concrete a couple of times. And you got to hit concrete and be able to get up and move forward, build that resilience back home. And the thing is, if you go onto social media, we're not calling any platforms, but people put out like owning and starting a business. And when they start banning around words like, we're self-made and things like that, very few people are self-made. And even those who claim to be self-made are supported by someone. The biggest lie, especially our community and especially our women, my sisters have been told, is that you have to do it by yourself. And that's the biggest crock of nonsense in the face of God's green earth.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. Like, there's talk of community out there. We're part of a community. Like, yeah, you don't need to do it by yourself. You're part of a community. Like, turn to that community and go, hey, raise up your hand and go, I do need a helping hand at this.
But you see, we're not taught that. We're taught you got to do it by yourself. You got to be, there's this myth that you've got to be the bottle washer, the bus boy, the everything, the CEO, the manager of everything. If you don't have a certain skill, go on, learn that skill.
Yeah.
Like, but when you're busy learning that other skill, are you actually doing the skill that actually is your skill? That is your main skill that made you go into business in the first place? No, you're learning how to do graphic design when you really have no business doing graphic design. So it's that piece that we need to get across.
Yeah.
Get the support, because you can't do it by yourself. You know that saying that goes, if you want to go alone. If you want to go far, go with others.
Very true. I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot. What I would also say with regards to, okay, what we're with the world lockdown at this present time, and like, this is the thing, we're all dealing with this in our own individual ways. And the whole thing is, I don't know about you, but I've got my eye on the horizon, and I can see the impending recession which is coming our way. And with regards to the sort of many people who out there who've like on social media, like, I'm self-made, I've done this and I've done that. There is a lot of them I don't think have actually tasted the sort of sting of a recession, or like, yeah, if they have tasted it, they've either had it tail end, or they don't know yet what they know.
I think for me, I don't know about you, and this is me being totally honest. There was points where I had to take stock, and I had to sit down, and I had to, in most cases, lay down for an extended period of time, because I needed to reset, and it was just a lot, and just the constant. And it's like I had to kind of find a place to reset. And one of the things that people are talking about, oh, a recession is coming, it's going to be bad, it's going to be this. Here's my thing, and this is what I know to be true, because it's documented in black and white. If we go back to the first Great Recession of 1942, when literally traders were flinging themselves out of the window in New York, these were financial traders were literally flinging themselves out of the window because it was that bad.
Yeah.
That's the Great Depression.
Yes.
Yeah. And even within that, people were still making money. So when people now hear the name Rockefeller, Rockefeller made money during that period. He stood his ground, he educated himself, he took certain focused action, and he made money. Now, when people think Rockefeller, they think generational money. His family is still living off the actions that he took during that period. During the Depression of 2008, when people were, can I swear?
Yeah, you can, like, please.
When shit literally hit the fan, people were making money. When this has happened with COVID and the first few weeks, and people, they're showing those traders who were holding their hands on their head, going, oh God, shit is bad, shit is bad. I guarantee you, as the day is long, people were still making money.
Yeah. No, they were.
Because there were traders who sold short, who said, this is going to fall, this is going to fall, and so they sold short. And I'm not going to go into the aspect of trading because I don't know enough to actually sound intelligent, but I know enough to know that what they do in that point is they'll sell short and they will buy and sell low. And people made money. There were people who were still sitting somewhere smoking big cigars, eating giant steaks and going, ha, 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 because they made money. They took action. Now, this is not about, this is not about me casting judgment on them. This is me saying they took an action. So yes, there's going to be issues, but we can either choose to rush and buy toilet roll or take different actions. And we can, right now, this pause that we're in is now the time that we choose to take different actions. We unlearn our relationship with money. We unlearn our relationship with failure. We unlearn our relationship with ourselves. We unlearn all this things so that we can take different actions, so that we thrive during what's going to come. So our children thrive. So we thrive and flourish. So we're not stuck in survival mode. Because I don't know about you, I'm done with surviving.
Well, if you're surviving, you're definitely not thriving. So
exactly. I'm done with the conversation about let's survive. I don't want to survive. I'm okay. I'm here. So survival is not required. I want to thrive. I want to flourish. So I'm taking different actions. I'm taking different actions. I'm having different conversations. I'm creating different scenarios so that I can support myself, my family, and actually make those actions. I'm actually looking at the community I hang out with. Who are the community of women that I want to be around? Who do I want to talk to? So we can either hold our hands on our head, or we can say, what actions can I take today, tomorrow? It doesn't have to be giant leaps, but what actions can I take today, tomorrow that's going to make an impact, that's going to actually make my world better? And you know what? You can make money in this period. You can be happy in this period. You can have all of those things. Because I listen to people and people say, oh, how can you be happy during this time? People are dying and this. But if we don't take small happiness, we don't find things to be grateful for, then we are just going to waste away. And so for me, it's finding those moments and finding the things that would strike our purpose, that will allow us to take those things. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for your kids, do it for your family, do it because you want to create a generational impact. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it because so that someone can talk about you on a podcast with awe and like, oh my God, this person did X, Y, and Z. Look at the impact. Don't do it for yourself. If you think, oh God, how can I make money during this time? Don't do it for you, sis, brother. Don't do it for you. Do it so that you can impact somebody else. So you can actually be the first of your family, the first and only in your family to have made such an impact. So you then change the course of your family. So you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your family. If that's what you want to work with. I don't care your reason, just do it.
Loving that. Like I can understand why you are a motivational speaker, my friend. You're definitely not a someday, one day person. Sure. No, that is excellent. That is great. So like, this is the thing. If there was one thing you could tell people to like do right now in the in lockdown times to help improve themselves, what would that be?
Don't judge yourself too harshly. If you feel like you're not doing what everybody's doing, if you're not up and down and you're not yet on having a Facebook Live every evening, and you're not DJing, you're not doing this, you're not working out 5 days a week, that you and your Netflix are best as buddies, you haven't picked up a book, don't judge yourself.
There was a wise person who said, what was it? Bear with me. You've got to ignore the chimp committee.
You have to, because if not, the chimp committee will drive you mad. The voices, I call them the chimp committee, because they meet in the back of your head. They make prejudgments about you. They tell you, look at you, all your mates, they're building houses. You're here watching Netflix. That person that creates Netflix, they have two heads. And you're like, don't listen to the chimp committee. And I say that because it's so easy to fall into that place of judgment. It's so easy to fall into that space and go, oh my God. And what that does is, when you're in that judgment, it builds up the anxiety. When it builds up the anxiety, it builds up fear. When it builds up fear, you then start taking action out of fear. When you take action out of fear, anything you create is bonkers, because it just wouldn't work. Because it's action taken out of fear. And I'm not telling you this out of textbook. I'm telling you this because this has been my life. I know what it is to take action out of fear. I must do this. I must do this. And then people can sense that energy. People can sense that feeling. And so when you take that moment to not judge and take a moment, and I call it to take a moment to breathe. Because the things I'm always talking about, the chimp committee. Chimp committee is loud. They're like, they're telling you about yourself morning, noon, and night. The chimp committee is loud. But there's another voice that goes up, and because you're listening to the chimp committee, you rarely hear that voice. There's that voice, that single voice, and it's small. Sometimes it's a small voice, and that voice is the one going, "It's okay. There's tomorrow. You can get up. You can do it. I believe in you." But the problem is, if you're listening to the chimp committee go off, you're not going to hear that small voice deep down in your gut, in your soul space. That voice that is basically, if I use the story do you remember the story of Pandora's box?
Yes, I do. Yes.
And she opened up the box, and all sorts of manner of chaos and destruction leaped out of this box and started tormenting her. And she closed the box, and she's like, "I'm never opening this box again." And there was a small box that says, "Please, please, please, let me out." And she's like, "No, no, 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 no." And this tiny voice begged, and she finally agreed, and out popped from that box was hope. Listen to that voice, because that's your hope voice. That's your soul voice. And that soul voice, you know it's your soul voice because your soul voice will never harass you. Your soul voice will never harangue you. Your soul voice will look at you and say, from the point that you are right now, you are making the best decisions that you can. Your soul voice will be the one that will tell you, when you know better, you will do better. So tomorrow we'll do better, because today you weren't, and tomorrow you'll do better. So when you don't listen to the chimp committee and you make time to breathe and make time to center yourself, however you do it, whether you do it by prayer, by meditation, by yoga. Right now, my yoga mat and my diffusers are my best friends, because they're keeping me centered so I can hear my soul voice. And my soul voice is going, "You got this. You can do this." You make space to listen to your soul voice, because your soul voice has a key for what you're supposed to do. Don't worry if Dick, Joan, Harry, Yinka, Tunde, Thomas, Queen Yin are all doing X, Y, and Z. If that is for you, you will speak it, you will do it, and there'll be space for you. Like I heard Erica Badu and Erica Badu and Jill Scott affair, and Erica said, "There's room at the end for you. There's room for all of us to speak our truths, to do our work. Even if 5 million people are doing that work, there's still room for you." So listen to your soul voice. Tap into your soul voice. And if your soul voice says sleep, sleep. Sleep. So that's what I will say you should do.
Excellent. Like, I've got to ask, like, I see the mirror in the background and it's got post-it notes around it. If I don't ask, because it's going to be one of those things, I'm going to be like going, why does she have that mirror? And why does it have post-it notes around it?
Okay, and the one thing, unfortunately, that you can't see clearly is that I have something written on the mirror. I have something written across the mirror in red.
Okay, yeah, I notice it now that you pointed it out. Yeah. Okay.
So across the mirror in red, it reads, "I am enough." It is my mantra and daily reminder that I am enough. As I am today, I am enough. I am enough to do the work I'm here to do. I am enough to be the person that I say I am. What's around it are different things. So one of the things I have around it says, "On your terms." I'm learning that I don't have to do things on other people's terms. It has to be on my terms. If it doesn't fit who I am intrinsically, if I don't get to show up as myself, I'm not going to do it. So if somebody goes, "Oh, they want someone to do X, Y, and Z," but what they want is someone who's very straight-laced, it's not for me. Because I will talk to you about Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. I will talk to you about Pandora's box. I will talk to you about red underwear. I will talk to you about those things because it's on the terms that I I come into the world and how I see the world. The other one says, go bone deep. And I learned this at an event I was at last year. And this is about go bone deep. If you were saying that this is what you want to do, learn it so that it becomes bone. Bone is strong. Go bone deep. Let it permeate your bone. Let it find space. And when it becomes you, at the core of you. So even if you fall, even if you have moments, even if you go, okay, it's all gone to hell in a handbasket, and I'm going to lay here for, in some cases, 5 years, that when you do rise, when you do remember to get up, you get up strong.
Liking it. Oh,
So
fantastic.
those are just different words. And then one of them says legacy.
Ah, uh, legacy. And what, with regards to legacy, may I ask, what do you see as like, what is your, when you started, was your legacy one thing, then it evolved and changed, and what do you see it being now?
So for me, it's different than most people think of legacy as something you leave after you are gone.
Mm-hmm. To go into Hamilton, it's a garden you never will see.
Yeah. No, as much as I love Hamilton, I'm not about that life. I'm about a living legacy. What do you want to live through this life? What do you want to live that lives with you? We shouldn't be looking at, okay, I want to, after I die, people will say this. And now the youth are saying, you know, you should get your flowers now. It took me a while to kind of figure out what the hell they're talking about. Well, flowers, what are we getting now? What is it that we're doing? They were like, go get your flowers. I'm like, translate this to me, because, you know, and I am having to ask my younger sisters and they look at me like,
no.
It's about, for me, it's about, what do you want to be known for here and now? What do you want to stand in as, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in, and this is what I create. So everything I do, it may not always relate to the work that I do, but everything I do will be part of this legacy. So even if I'm not doing the work, I'm not working on as being a coach or a speaker. When I do my podcast, it's still about supporting and championing women and men from my community. That's part of my thing. When I champion other women online, when I how I present myself, how I speak, is part of my legacy, because I want to make sure that it lives through me, in me. And so when I am gone, that's not when people talk about me. I want us to talk about what we accomplish now. I want us to get comfortable knowing that we have done enough. That goes back to the I am enough, to say that, yes, I've done this and I will do this and I'm doing this. And so we pass that down generationally, so our generation know that they don't have to hide their strength and power under this, so that, you know, when they pass on, people go, oh yeah, they did X, Y, and Z, oh, they were a good person. Look at Little Richard. Little Richard will come on set and tell you, I did it all.
I was here, I'm gone, but when I was here, I was strong, bringing it. A living legacy, a living reputation, a living brand. Yeah. No.
I like that. I like the aspect of a living brand that is basically, let's live it, and let's and also the aspect of it living is that it evolves with you, it grows with you, because what we think may be our legacy, and even Maya Angelou says, it's not for us to write that sometimes, but we can craft it and evolve it. And that's just me. I'm happy to discuss it, but that's how I see it. And so, yeah.
Outstanding. Now, just to go off on a quick tangent, what is your favorite anime? You mentioned anime, and what is that?
I don't think we have enough time to do anime conversation.
Okay.
But I would tell you my favorite anime house is Studio Ghibli. I basically worship at the altar of Studio Ghibli, and so I make a point to go back and find ones I haven't watched. But my favorite anime, oh, that's a question. depends on when you ask this question, but I will still have to go back to Howl's Moving Castle, followed by Spirited Away.
Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yes, like if it was me, it would be a little bit of Full Metal Alchemist and Attack on Titan. So
I haven't seen Attack on Titan, but I was introduced to Full Metal Alchemist, and the concept of equivalent exchange blows my mind. And I don't want anything to do with Philosopher's Stone. Not at all.
Oh no. Like Philosopher's Stone is dark and evil, and you don't like to get one of those.
I don't want anything to do with a Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah. If you got a Philosopher's Stone, yeah, you are an evil person if you made it.
I mean, no. If you have one and you don't know how it came about, don't ask questions.
No. Like this is the whole thing. If you know what a Philosopher's Stone is, you definitely know how it came about. And no. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. It is wrong on many a scale.
Then I discovered the word homunculi, and I'm sorry, nothing has terrified me as much as the word homunculi right now. I think the only thing that terrified me this much as a kid, when I was a kid, was the hand of God from Moses. That was terrifying, but the homunculi, I'm like,
yeah, like got to say, my favorite homunculi out of the group is Greed, because like what I mean. Greed. He's the one who like bonded with the prince. Wait. How many seasons are you into Full Metal?
I've covered the whole thing. Yeah. But you remember the Envy.
Oh yeah.
Envy was something else. Envy was something else. But then you know the character that I loved in Full Metal outside of the brothers was I can never remember his name. Is not the major with the glove. No, it's the one that always takes off his shirt and
I know the guy you took. Like I know his last name is Armstrong.
Yes, Major Armstrong.
Yeah, because like there was two different versions of Full Metal Alchemist. There's one where like it sort of goes one way, they get into like the Second World War somehow. Like they change.
That's the one I watched where at the end of it, what's his name? Edward had disappeared because he had gone through the gate and ended up in. I mean, we shouldn't spoil this for people.
Yeah,
we shouldn't. Trust me, if you haven't seen this, I implore you to discover Full Metal Alchemist. It is a crazy thing. But do you remember Scar? Oh my God! Yeah, Scar had issues upon issues.
Yeah, but like this is the thing. In one, he's just all-out bad guy, and the other one, he turns into a little bit of a hero. So it's like.
But the thing is, and this is when we now get into talk about archetypes. Nobody's told me anything, and the thing is, his circumstances, created circumstances, and when you do certain things, and I think this is the thing about the equivalent exchange. Let's get into that equivalent exchange space of knowing that there are actions and consequences for the actions. But then if you kind of take the story apart and look at it and understand that there were very few of them that actually did commit the sin out for the wrong reason. They weren't doing it out of greed or they didn't do it out of the wrong reason. They just did something. And this is where we have to understand in that conversation. It's like, but I mean, their father.
Oh, look at your face. If he was in the room with you right now, you would slap him. I guess.
I mean, you created a whole heap of unholy mess and then left these poor boys and...
Yeah. And like basically, you know what I mean? You left them with the knowledge, all that knowledge and...
See my face?
Yeah. That's like I'm...
So yeah, but then have you watched the Seven Deadly Sins?
No, I have not watched that.
You have to watch Seven Deadly Sins. If you love Full Metal Alchemist, I assure you, you will absolutely love Seven Deadly Sins. Now, I'm not going to give you spoilers, but damn.
Oh.
First of all, is Meliodas is a pervert. That's all I'm going to say about that. And, and my favorite character out of all of them, in fact, it's hard to choose, but I am secretly in love with Bond the Undead. He is just so misunderstood, so misunderstood. Watch it, and come back to me, because you will. If you don't love it, then you're not a true anime fan. That's my judgment. Yeah, I'm judging you.
Oh, okay. No problem. Okay. On that happy note, there's been like an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Would you be able to give the lovely people out there your details, where they can find you, everything like that?
So I'm on Insta and Twitter and Facebook, and it's under my name, which is Lillian Ogbogoh, and my Lillian has 2 L's in the middle. So it's Lillian, and my last name is Ogbogoh, and you'll find me on Instagram, LinkedIn. You will find me, well, actually, don't worry with the LinkedIn, on Twitter, and because I have 2 LinkedIn, that's why I say don't worry about the LinkedIn, and on Facebook.
Excellent. What I'll do, I'll put it in the show notes, in the bio. You'll be able to find all of this information. You'll be able to get in contact with Lillian. And yes, what I'm going to say is thank you, Lillian, for being here today. It's been a pleasure. I'd like to thank everyone who is still listening to the podcast at this present time. I wish you a very great day. I wish you excellence. I wish you fantastic times, but be well, be cool, be excellent, be all the positive bees you can be, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh yeah. Ooh, that's